Hello friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to be making a fall treat for a church potluck. So this is something that's usually made for tea parties, but I just really wanted to make something very fall inspired, and that is a rose caramel apple pie. So if I was using this for a tea party, I would do it individually in cupcake tins. But I'm going to do this in a full pie plate, and obviously I'm going to use red apples to simulate that rose color. I cut my apples into fourths and then I core them, and then I want to slice my apples very, very thin. And once I get a good amount of apples in a bowl, there's no specific amount, just however many you feel is best. I think I used maybe about 6 apples for this. Then you're going to add some sugar. I'll have the full recipe down in the description box as always. And I use pumpkin pie spice for this particular recipe. If it was an apple pie, I would just use cinnamon, and you're welcome to do that. But I'm also going to use pre-made pie dough. It's just so much quicker. And I've put my apples into the microwave so they're nice and soft. But I've rolled out my dough very, very thin, and I am using a scone cutter. And this is the same as I would do for cupcake tins for the individual little pies. But this just makes it so pretty, very scalloped around the edges. You're welcome to just put your pie dough into the bottom of the pie plate if that's what you choose. So I let my apples sit in the cinnamon and sugar and pumpkin pie spice until all of the liquid has drained off of them, and they've released all of that, and I pour it into a pot on my stove and add maple extract and butter and flour. So this is the same as it would be in a pie, but I'm doing the liquid separate on the stove. And if you're not interested in the maple flavor, another good extract to use would be vanilla, of course, and then also almond is really good in this as well. But I let that thicken up on the stove, and then I'm going to create my roses once my apples are softened in the microwave. So what I've done is I lay out my apple slices. It doesn't matter how many, just however many you feel makes the right size of rose. And I would suggest just practicing on a couple and seeing what size you like. So you lay them on their side with the red skin facing up, and take the one on the end and roll it into a very small spiral. That is going to be the center of your rose. And you can see why you want that apple slice very pliable. If these weren't cooked in the microwave first, they would be really too crunchy to roll like this. So you just lay that little spiral on the end, whichever end you choose, and roll the entire thing towards the other side, and it creates a beautiful rose. So you just continue that. When I do this in a full-size pie plate, I always put the first rose in the very center of the pie and work my way out. If I was doing this in individual cupcake tins, I would create the rose big enough for that one tin. So once I've got my roses filled out, I use the rest of my apples and just fill in areas that need to be filled in. So sometimes I'll create a little spiral, like a little rosebud, and sometimes I'll just put them around the very outer edges just to fill everything in. And I'm going to be adding caramel. So these are just caramel squares, and I've cut them into fourths, and I'm just tucking them in all over, but not too much. So this is one of those things, you could melt the caramel and pour it into the bottom of the pie plate on top of the dough, and that would actually help your roses stick if you were having trouble with that. And you could also add pecans or something on the bottom on top of the caramel if you wanted. So as you can see, I've poured my pie liquid into the pie and sprinkled some almond slices, and you're going to want to cover your pie and bake it at 350 for about a half an hour, and then you're going to want to remove that tin and let it bake for about 15 minutes longer. And that is it. Isn't it beautiful? You could sprinkle some powdered sugar on this if you'd like. Enjoy.